Look at the newspapers this wonderful morning, and of course we will be starting off with the Daily Nation just to see what is being reported. And definitely it's a call to definitely keep praying for our country, Kenya, and even beyond. And I'm seeing here an easy calm. The last deadly attack was the 2019 Dusit D2 raid. It says here how police foiled city terror plot. This is interesting. It says here that there were some seized weapons. And number one is the AK-47 assault rifles. We had the Macaro pistol with 24 rounds, also magazines with 600 rounds of ammunition, and also 6 hand grenades, explosives for close range attacks. Quite interesting. And it says here there were other things like Tecamol, paracetamol for fever and pain, 3 elastic bandages. There were other things that were there, vitamin K3, power mode, 4 disposable syringes. So it says here on the eve of the rare coincidental start of Ramadan and Lent, security agents stormed a hideout in Kajiado and seized 13 men. The operation on Tuesday night followed days of painstaking surveillance on the suspects who were plotting a terrorist attack. This is quite interesting, and we really thank God that these men were exposed, because this is serious. We don't know what would have happened. And this is a story covered on page 4 and 5. And that's why I say we have to keep praying for our nation, Kenya, because God is at work. And even in exposing such, wickedness, I believe that it is still in the light of Him answering us and hearing us and helping, because we don't know how many people would have been casualties of this planned terrorist attack in Kajiado. Moving on, I see why a Nairobi governor is unable to govern in peace still. On that story that we've been covering recently, Nairobi stands out as the only county to have had 5 governors since the advent of devolution in 2013. The incumbent Johnson Sakaja joins his predecessors in seeking State House help to run the city. So this is not something that has just happened right now. It is history repeating itself. So why is it so hard to govern Nairobi? Of course, that's the big question. Those feeder women face off with Moi's minister over sex saga. This is a story that has been covered on page 2 all the way to 3, and you can have a look at it. Page 7 is covering serial killer blows his cover with MP's fake murder plot. That's a story that has been covered as well on the Daily Nation this wonderful morning. And now let's look at the Standard just to have a look at the highlights. The top story here is absentee governors, and they have been listed here. It says more than 500 billion shillings has flowed into marginalized counties since devolution, yet residents say they are still trapped in penury. While Mandera, Wajir, Garissa, Isiolo, and Marsabit rank among the country's top spenders on development, critics argue the money has built offices, residences, and prestige projects rather than roads, water systems, and hospitals, things that are core. Part of the problem is governors leading from Nairobi instead of the ground, where they can prioritize what affects majority of the residents, as billions are accounted for on paper. Citizens are demanding to know, where is the change on the ground? This is a story covered on page 4 and 5 and 6. And I would love to echo a conversation we had here with one amazing lady, Dr. Jane, who is a civil servant in the Ministry of Lands. And she was just telling us that sometimes, because she works just close to where we are, she takes a stroll all the way to town. And sometimes she can take a matatu and go to town once in a while, just so that she can experience what people experience on the ground. We found that to be a very, very powerful interview and conversation that we were having, and you can have a look at it. That is on YouTube. We called it Servant Leadership. And I think this is what the people of these areas are crying out. The people of these counties, they're saying these leaders are leading from Nairobi, so they're living in their prestigious homes and they're having a good life. But what about the people who elected them? Why are they not on the ground? Why don't they live with them so that they know the issues affecting them, so that they can help them, out of any crisis that they are in or any issues that they are facing. And it's interesting because now people are saying that, the important things like hospitals, the important things like water systems and roads that are truly needed, that's not where the money is going. It's going to these other things like development, things to do with the building offices, residences, and prestige, places instead of hospitals. So definitely, this is a big gap. And definitely, as our leaders, I think it's important for them to know and realize that being on the ground is what matters the most, so that you get to be empathetic and know what the people are truly going through. Allow me to finish it up with the Business Daily this wonderful morning, looking at the top page. It says unclaimed shares, cash and M-Pesa cross 100 billion shillings. This is quite interesting. Idle assets earn 13.1 billion shillings return from bonds. Investors show disinterest in reclaiming wealth. This is quite interesting. Very, very interesting. But anyway, I see Caroline Mutuku is on the live pullout today, and you can look at that story right there and just get to see what they are saying about her. And I also see, and it's not Mutoko, it is Mutuku. I think this is a different Caroline. Says Caroline Mutuku was the top girl in the country in the 2006 Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education exams, and she went to medical school because that's what you did if you were smart and ambitious. 3 months in, she quit. She says, I almost fainted in a ward. She says, everyone except her father said she was making a mistake. 12 years after that, she was a banker. Equity Bank at 18, straight out of high school. Standard Chartered as a management trainee. She pivoted a consultancy at McKinsey, doing deals across the continent. Then in 2021, she had a moment. What if I changed? What would happen? She wanted the farthest thing from banking she could find. She joined Swavel, the app-based bus service, running routes across Nairobi. 5 months later, they exited the market. She stayed home for 5 months, refusing to go back, asking herself what she actually wanted. And in October 2022, she joined Glovo Kenya, knowing absolutely nothing about e-commerce or food delivery. Kenya is now Glovo's fastest growing market across 22 countries. This is quite interesting. From being the top lady in the nation in 2006, I think it's interesting because it's true. In those days, whenever you would get such a mark, whenever you would have such a top position, the automatic thing, go do medicine or law or engineering. But then it says here that after a short while, she quit. So I think this is just helping us to really rethink some of these things, because we may assume that because a girl is bright or a girl is intelligent, then they definitely should pursue such big courses, or even a boy. If they do very well in the exams, we think as parents automatically they probably should do medicine and do all these big courses. But really, is that their heartbeat? Is that what they truly want to do? I think this story on the Business Daily today will help you to make that decision and help your children choose the right thing. So at this moment, allow us to have a look at the video of the day. We'll come back and talk about it.